and welcome back to another edition of 2 on 2. I am Aaron Perlet, and today I am joined by Michael Brenner, the Vice President of Marketing and Content Strategy from SAP. Michael, thank you for joining me.
Great to be here. Thanks, Aaron.
So let's dive right in. SAP is a pretty vaunted brand. Forbes named it the 21st most valuable brand globally. You're really looked upon as kind of a technology innovator, especially amongst your customers, but when you mention the SAP brand to people who aren't that aware of what you do, you kind of get this collective meh. So what is, in your mind, what's kind of the cause of that, and what are you doing about it?
Well, in many ways, we're the victim of our own success, Aaron. I mean, the company was founded just over 40 years ago as, an ERP company in Germany by, a number of ex-IBM employees. And they created a technology that was, the backbone of the most important elements of a business, right? So you think about supply chain management, or, the example I always use for people is, we make sure that employees get paid. And that's not something that you can, be right only 90% of the time. You have to be right every single time, right? So, and apply that to financials, apply that to supply chain, apply that to, all of the core elements that run a business in today's world, and that's what we've done, and done successfully for over 40 years. And so our current customers think of us as this German-founded company who German engineering, if you will. We don't get things wrong, we get them right. Unfortunately, though, we aren't thought of as easy to use maybe sometimes. We're not thought of as a global company, even though we operate in every single country that has a business in it. We're not really thought of as a consumer brand, even though, we touch the lives of consumers every single day with the technologies that we deploy with our customers, right? We're reaching our customers. So we're much more than most people think that we are. And, that's ultimately a marketing problem that we think we can solve.
So you've been quite the advocate for content, particularly in the social space with branded, unbranded, which I imagine can be a real challenge in the B2B vertical. So I'd love to get your perspective on where you think the use of content is going, and maybe where some B2B marketers are kind of missing the boat.
Yeah, so and I talk about this pretty extensively in my blog, and whenever I get the opportunity and privilege to present to folks on a stage, I always start with these sort of three key facts, and I really do believe they're facts, right? The first is that the world has changed significantly since the dawn of the internet, and we can pull up all the number, billion people on Facebook, or the number of bits of data that fly around the world every single second, or, we've created the same amount of information in the last 2 years as, from the dawn of time until now. And all of those facts, I think, support a significant amount of change has occurred in the business landscape, well, in the world economy, because of the internet 20 years ago, right? So significant change has occurred. Businesses are now feeling the impact, thanks to some of the ways that has impacted, let's say, for example, customer expectations, right? So we're all customers of things, and we all now expect an Amazon-like experience with all of the companies that we do business with. And that's creating tremendous change for companies in not just the consumer space, but also in the business space. So that's point one. The world has changed. I think any logical person you tell that to will sort of get that. The second thing is, unfortunately, most marketing isn't very effective. Sometimes I use more colorful language, but with you, I'll keep it. I'll try to keep it.
A lot of it really sucks.
Exactly, right. And I've said that publicly. And the reason it does is because we still market like it's 1960 or 50 or something. I don't know what decade, but it's not the 21st century. We're still pushing promotional messages in a world that has too much information already. And so that makes intuitive sense when I say that to you and I. We both know, we're on our BlackBerries or our iPhones or whatever mobile device we're using 150 times a day. We spend 2 hours on our mobile device, the average U.S. consumer. We're spending countless hours on our work laptops. We're hitting our tablets around 6 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock at night while we're watching a television show. So we're inundated with information, and yet as brand marketers, especially in B2B, we still think that people might find any kind of relevance to a product promotion message. And so that's the intuitive part of it. The empirical part of it is very clear. 99% of banner, 99.9% of banner ads don't receive a single click. 99.5% of emails don't gain any interaction with the person it's sent to. So it's not like an 80-20 problem. It's a 99.5%, 99.9% problem. I love to say, and I'm sorry I'm going to do this to you, but banners have 99 problems and a click ain't one, and it's true for email and it's true for social. So, we have these problems that are occurring, and we're not seeing the shift that we need to see with marketers and brands making different decisions with the way that we market to our audiences. So point one, the world has changed. Point two, most marketing sucks. And the new way, so we need a new way. What's the new way? We need to act like publishers. And people say that without really understanding what that means, because they're like, wait a minute, aren't newspapers dying? And the reason that they're dying goes back to point two, because newspapers that aren't subscription-based, because information is now so relevant, people aren't willing to pay subscriptions in most cases. And those that tried to survive on an ad model, people are tuning out ads. So now, the newspaper, the publishing industry is dying because of the model that they were built on. So a brand, I think, has a context for having a publishing relationship with the audience, right? We know things about the industries and the solution areas that we develop products in. We can reach out to the average consumer or our business prospects, and we can have an intelligent conversation about things that might help them with their job, with their business, maybe even entertain them. And so that's what we talk about when we talk about brands becoming publishers. It's not creating more content that promotes who we are and what we do, but creating kind of content that actually helps our customers and monetizing that in a way that helps the business. That's what we're talking about.
Do you think that not enough of your peers recognize that B2B marketing could actually be sexy? Because I think there's this kind of stigma that consumer marketing can be sexy, it can be funny, it can be irreverent. But do you think not enough of your peers recognize that it doesn't matter if it's B2B or B2C, you're still dealing with a human being, and so it can be, funny, irreverent, interesting, different, and actually accomplish a business objective?
Yeah. So I'm going to have to throw out a stat at you. So you'll have to forgive me for this one. But my friend Tim Washer at Cisco, he loves to point to this research that they did that 86% of the people in B2B are actually people. And so, therein lies the problem, right? We forget that our CMO, Jonathan Becker, loves to say that buildings don't buy software, people do. He cites this great example of a conversation he had with a sales guy who was saying that he talked to 3M. And he says that he responded, did you talk to everybody at 3M or did you talk to one person at 3M? Because you didn't talk to the building that represents 3M, right? He had a conversation with an actual person. And this is the problem. There's also, so one, we forget to think about our business audience as people. And so, yeah, I think we completely missed the boat. We're still creating brochures. We're still marketing like it's 1950. And yeah, God forbid we're actually funny or human. And so, I think part of it goes back to the tradition of B2B marketing is very different from the tradition of B2C, consumer marketing. Although I think that's converging, and a lot of people are talking about that convergence, that reaching out to a human being and touching them in a human way is the same for a B2B marketer as it is for a B2C marketer. It's our traditions that are different. So consumer marketers, and I spent 10 years at the Nielsen Company, helping the best brands in the world understand through consumer insights what their customers were buying and why. So consumer companies and brands, they had this mentality and this culture of needing to know what the customer was thinking and understanding why they were doing what they were doing, the why behind the buy. In B2B, we've been focused on how do we, in a more slick way, talk about the ball bearings that we create. And instead of really thinking about the need and the why behind the buy. And so I think because of that history, I think that we've seen a slower uptake of this concept of marketing to human beings in B2B. I think that we're seeing some brands in B2B even starting to overtake what we're seeing in the consumer space. And I'll point to GE as a great example. I think GE on their B2B side is doing a way better job than a lot of consumer companies at marketing, and they're using content to do it.
So I'll get you out of here on this. You're obviously an advocate for using content in unique ways that aren't traditionally done in the B2B space, but give us one example of something you're really proud of that SAP is doing under your direction, or maybe even not under your direction, that you have felt has kind of met the framework of what should be expected from a B2B marketer today in terms of content or otherwise.
Well, Aaron, so I just pitched you for 10 minutes now on how we need to stop promoting ourselves, and now you're asking me to promote myself. So, so I appreciate it, and I will. But I'll show you what I think it's a great example of what we've been talking about. And in a lot of ways, it was an organic sort of in the moment kind of a thing. It wasn't strategically planned, which almost makes it even better. So recently, we published a slide share called 99 Facts on the Future of Business. And the story behind it, it was wildly successful, and I'll throw some numbers at you in a second. But the context behind it was we had some senior execs within the company who had asked us to present some evidence that the world has changed, some of the stuff I talked about. And so we found some things like, the turnover rate in the Fortune 500 from 2010 to 2000 was 40%. That's a pretty cool number that shows that the world has changed. The famous stat about the amount of information we've created in the last 3 years is greater than all that, from the dawn of time until now. That's another great stat about how the world has changed. So we started creating these stats that were to support an executive doing a keynote. And then we realized, wait a minute, these are stats that not only would be interesting to any business person, that also present the amount of change that's happened in the world. They also set the context for a technology company. I think SAP might be a technology company. This might be something that could help us. And so we created a SlideShare, 99 facts or stats on the future of business. We published it, I think, on October 3rd or 5th. It was the top presentation of the day on SlideShare. It was the top presentation of the week. It was the top presentation of the month. We just hit 150,000 page views. I think it's like 3,700 social shares, and it's growing, pretty rapidly each day. Within the next 12 months, it's going to be one of the most popular slide shares of the year. And that's not an easy feat. I mean, it puts us in the top 0.0% of all of the kinds of content that brands and people upload to SlideShare every given day. SlideShare, most people don't know this, but SlideShare gets 3 times more engagement by business executives than any other social network. And so, this is just an example. It's something that, like I said, it was sort of organic. It was, kind of happened in the moment. We looked at it opportunistically. We thought about, hey, this is something that's going to have relevance. It's going to be helpful to our community and the audience of business executives that we're targeting. So let's give it a shot. And it's been wildly successful. So we're really proud of it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Michael Brenner, thank you very much for joining me on another 2 on 2. I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Aaron. My pleasure.